Lesson 54, Distances and Dimensions. Hello and welcome to this lesson. Today, we are going to talk about distances and dimensions, the words we use to describe size, length, height, width, depth, and how things change in size. This is very practical vocabulary for everyday descriptions, measurements, and comparisons. So, let us get started. Broad and wide, tall and high. First, let us clarify the difference between broad and wide and between tall and high. Wide is more common than broad in everyday contexts. For example, it is a very wide road or a wide garden or a wide room. However, broad is used in more abstract or specific collocations. For example, economics is a very broad subject, meaning wide-ranging. Or, we came to a broad expanse of grassland, meaning a big area. Note the word order for dimensions. We say, the room is 5 meters long and 4 wide. Now, tall is used for people. For example, she is very tall for a 5-year-old. But tall can also be used for things that are high and thin in some way, such as buildings and trees. For example, her office is in that tall building in the square. Otherwise, use high for things. For example, there are some high mountains in the north. Deep and shallow. Now, let us look at deep and shallow. These are opposites. For example, a swimming pool has a deep end and a shallow end. Derived words, phrases, and compounds. Now, let us look at derived words, phrases, and compounds from the basic adjectives. From long, we have the noun length. For example, let us measure the length of this rope. We also use lengths to mean the distance from one end of a swimming pool to the other. For example, I swam 20 lengths. The verb is lengthen. For example, I have lengthened her skirt for her. The opposite is shorten. The adjective lengthy means long, usually referring to time, and it is rather negative. For example, getting a visa can be a lengthy process. And we have the compound long distance. For example, Tony has got a job as a long-distance lorry driver. From short, we have the verb shorten. For example, the new road will shorten our journey by 10 minutes. And the compound shortcut. For example, there is a shortcut to the station, meaning a quick way. From wide, we have the noun width. For example, let us measure the width of the room. And the verb widen. For example, they are widening the road. From broad, we have the verb broaden. For example, I want to broaden my experience. This is usually used in more abstract contexts. We also have the adjective broad-minded, meaning willing to accept other people's behavior and beliefs. The opposite is narrow-minded. And the noun breadth. For example, I admire the breadth of his knowledge, again, usually used for abstract concepts. From high, we have the noun height. For example, the height of the wall is 2 meters. And the verb heighten, which is usually used only for feelings and emotions. For example, the fog heightened the feeling of mystery. From low, we have the verb lower. For example, you can lower the microphone if it is too high. The opposite is raise. From far, we have the adjective far away, meaning a long way away, distant. For example, he loves traveling to faraway places. From distant, we have the noun distance. For example, what is the distance from Helsinki to St. Petersburg? Which means, how far is it? From deep, we have the noun depth. For example, the depth of the river here is about 3 meters. And the verb deepen, often used with feelings. For example, his death so soon after hers deepened our sadness. Other verbs for dimensions and changing them. Finally, let us look at some other verbs for dimensions and for changing them. Our garden stretches all the way to the river, meaning it extends or reaches. We have plenty of room to extend the house if we want to, meaning make it bigger. The cities are spreading and the countryside is shrinking. Spreading means getting bigger and shrinking means getting smaller. The business expanded considerably in the last decade, meaning grew in size. The opposite is contract. So, that is our lesson on distances and dimensions. These words and verbs will help you describe size, length, height, width, depth, and how things change with greater precision and clarity.